Well, that's quite a story. Abhinav Bindra is an inspiration for a nation. We've heard his story, but stories need something else. They need storytellers. And our next panel, we're joined by three incredible ladies who are from extremely diverse and different fields, but we'll hear more from them on how storytelling and content is changing, audience habits are changing. So if I could please welcome onto the stage Dr. Jyotsna Srikanth, MBE. She's a violinist and the artistic director of Dhruv Arts. We have Ashwika Kapur, a filmmaker and BBC Nature. And also joining us virtually is Apoorva Bakshi, who is an international Emmy Award-winning producer, including of the popular Delhi Crime, please. Yeah. Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I really appreciate you taking time out and joining us here at IGF Studio. We have a lot to cover when we talk about content, and especially in this AI-driven world where everyone's got a phone, so everyone's a content creator in some way. Dr. Joseph, I can start with you. How do you see the traditional forms of content existing in this new age clickbait era of limited time spans and also multiple platforms?
Yeah, we have to redefine traditional arts. For example, I am going to speak with respect to music. I'm a South Indian Carnatic violinist, trained in the Western classical system also. Now we have this Carnatic rock, Carnatic music with rock, folk rock. So these new sounds, experimenting with new sounds is the mantra of the day. So people want to listen to something new, very new.
Yeah.
So we are.
It has to evolve.
Yes, it is evolving. Yeah.
That's fantastic. We would love to actually, Carnatic rock sounds good, I must say. Ashwika, what about you? Are you seeing a change in audience patterns? You're a conservationist, you're a filmmaker. Do you firstly see that because we have these newer platforms, that there is more opportunities for people like you who wanted to tell a different kind of story, say, than from, a traditional one? You have an opportunity now to do that.
100%. So I'll speak only for the industry that I come from. So I'm a wildlife and nature filmmaker. When you think wildlife and nature filmmaker, you normally think of David Attenborough, who's 98 and British male. But the fact that I'm sitting here today means that there's been a little bit of a change in sort of the space where it's gone to. And that largely has also very much to do with the fact that the content has been sort of driven now largely by evolving technologies as well as evolving platforms. So what used to be traditionally something that was made by the BBC, for the BBC largely, where it all started. That's where all our role models started there. David Attenborough started like that. But since then, because there's been so many different platforms that have come up, because the platforms have digitized, because you don't only need really high-end cameras, really sort of unaffordable high-end cameras. You also have way more accessibility to lenses and cameras, and as well as the platforms. That's why there are a lot more creators now who are slowly entering the space, which is a very interesting thing, because also there's a larger diversity of stories coming from across the world.
But also competition, isn't that?
Of course there's competition. That's always a great thing. It's a healthy thing, because if there is competition, then you are obviously leveling up and sort of raising the bar, as you may say, for yourself. So competition is fantastic. But what is really fantastic is now slowly conservation stories are beginning to be told from all quarters of the world by people in different parts of the world, their own local stories, things that we may not have necessarily seen even a decade ago, which is now very much changing, and very, very importantly, creating that sort of awareness and engagement with subjects which would not have got picked up by traditional mainstream.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good segue to ask Apoorva. Apoorva, I do want to ask you. You work with all these international platforms. Do you think that they do, or so far, justice has been done, say, to the India story, the India portrayal, or is this a vacuum that you feel lots more can be done in?
I think the global situation, my voice is echoing, but I'll go ahead. I think with the launch of global platforms, which switched on in 170 countries, there was an opportunity to tell local stories from local creators. And it's actually been an empowering process, because earlier there was a very clear, like Ashwika said, there was a very clear demarcation of you creating local stories for local audience. And now we have seen how language is not a barrier anymore. With the advent of, a good drama will travel far. We have Narcos that travel from the South of America. We have Squid Games that traveled from Korea. Is my internet okay?
Fine. Are you? If your echo is fine, then please do continue.
Okay. And so I feel like there has been a democratization of content, which has given rise to multiple creators and authentic voices from across the world. And it really depends on you how relatable and emotionally strong your pieces are, which can travel the world. So I feel like there has been, on the opposite, there has been a resurgence of a newer wave of creators who are able to tell authentic stories for global audience.
But is this explosion of content also a fad? Do you think there'll be a rationalization of the volume of content as we go forward?
I think it's already rationalized. I think there was an initial, library content that started building up, but the algorithms and the data points that the platforms have received have guided their newer choices and mandates of what works and what doesn't work. The rationalization has started to check in with, in the past 2 years, also with the guild strikes across the world, writers demanding more for their contributions. So I think the rationalization is checking in, but the viewership has increased tremendously. The time spent on viewing habits, and now we don't just view on a television or theaters. We also use our streaming devices have included a telephone, our own cell phones. So I think the viewership habits have increased, and people have become very discerning with what they want to watch and what they don't want to watch. And it's really the responsibility of the executives to be able to make choices that are, that can live longer on their platform, and also garner the viewership that's not instant. So there is a difference in their approach as well.
I think viewership is a very important point that you touched upon, because all of you are content creators in that sense, right? And views do matter, especially in this day and era where the clicks matter, the views matter. So how do you balance commerce and creativity? How do you stay true to your art, but at the same time you know that if you don't get enough clicks, then you probably won't be able to do what you really want to. And I'm going to go around the table. So, Dr. Jyotsna, if we start with you.
Yeah, that's a very tough job to do, commerce and creativity. I also program for London International Arts Festival. This is a pressing question for me, because now I speak with respect to music. You say, now in Indian music context, you have classical artists. And there are classical artists who have also sung for movies, Bollywood movies, Tamil movies, all this. So naturally, the audience numbers are more for those artists.
Exactly.
But I know that there is so much of creativity, and youngsters, they are coming up. Even in Carnatic traditional music, there is so much of innovation. Be it the compositions, the improvisational aspects, and technology, including technology into classical music. That is the order of the day now. So I know it's there, but I'm not able to bring in much audiences for this. So one way to do what I'm doing is go with venues which have profile, because they have their own audiences, set audiences. So they believe in what the venues program, and the audiences are quite well informed, and they do their research before coming. So they are not about this number of views, and because now you do marketing, you get views. That's not the thing, because you go and see online some real good music, maybe just 100 views, 200 views, but maybe a million, 2 million, 3
But that
million.
hurts. It really hurts, right? When you produce something which you love so deeply and then it doesn't get any views, and then something which might be
Yes,
ordinary,
yes, yeah.
you see has got 2 or 3 million views on the
Yes,
internet and
yes.
counting.
Yeah, especially this problem I find with our Indian audiences who go with the community. So my brother goes to that concert, I go to this concert. Why am I going? I don't know. My brother is going, like, it's his opinion matters, like. So the only answer to it is I'm programming in different venues which have profile, and I'm having both Indian audiences and other worldwide audiences, and that's where I'm trying to balance between the two.
What about you?
It's the holy grail.
Yeah.
Being able to strike that balance is the holy grail. So
Yes.
from my industry point of view, there is wildlife and nature content that is driven of the commercial side of things.
Yeah.
Is very driven towards obviously entertainment. It's education, entertainment, but and that's amazing. And it's anyway a very creative space. So I'm lucky to be able to be working in mainstream television that in itself is very enriching and very it's a gratifying space to be working in. Sometimes what I really miss doing, however, is to create content that is more purely conservation. And that is not something that necessarily will find its space on mainstream.
Or not just an audience, but even a producer or somebody.
The audience, well, I believe it might find an audience, but that's my point of view. But it's not that easy to find a platform to be able to put forward conservation content that is not first prioritizing entertainment, if you know what I mean. So that's a very tricky balance. So how I've balanced it, frankly, I don't know if this is the answer to anyone's problems, but how I balance it is I have my main career in TV, in sort of wildlife content, but I also go away and I make conservation content. I also make my own films that speak of subjects that are important to me, that put forward, that allows me my creative space the way I want to as a filmmaker. And those don't necessarily get the large global numbers, but they are also not targeted at large global numbers. So sometimes that conservation content, that film that I make, that's very much targeted to, would be an audience maybe from that region that can then create a change for the subject that I'm speaking about. So for example, recently I made a film on, we worked with children of illegal hunting communities, and they go out illegal hunting, they hunt these enormous amounts of this big hunting festival takes place, and they kill everything that moves every year. There's a massive illegal hunting festival that takes place in Bengal. And
Sorry, I think
This
Apoorva.
film is beautiful. I'm sorry, I have to, Ashwika. I was in the jury of NIF, and that was the first film that I
oh
watched.
my God!
Congratulations on
Thank you
making
so much.
catapult cameras. I'm so proud of that film. So you can tell them about it. I'm sorry, I had to butt in because it was one of
I'm so
the
glad. I had no
most
idea she was in the jury of the
We're
Mumbai
making it
International
happen
Film
at India
Festival.
Global Forum. We're bringing together, the world's.
So yeah, the film made it to Mumbai International Film Festival, which is very exciting for us. And it was with children of hunting communities. And essentially, they learn how to hunt from a very small age. So from the age of 3, these boys are given catapults. And they're taught that all wildlife is target. So from the age of 3, whatever moves, they learn how to hunt it with a catapult. Now the point is, with these are at the end of the day little children. So if they've been taught one thing, they can be taught something else. So we went to one of these hunting villages, and as just a pilot project, we chose 5 boys between the ages of 10 and 13, and for a week replaced their catapults with cameras. So they were sort of looking at and taking photographs of the same wildlife, which otherwise they would be hunting with their catapults. And the results were absolutely just 180 degrees in the other direction, because you just change something in their minds. You show them how to look at something differently. The fact is, because we approached this film in a very authentic, hopefully that came across in the film, but as in a very authentic way where you actually see the change happening in the film. It is not something you can pitch to a platform as a film before you've done it. And also, it's not a subject that's going to very easily find a massive funder.
Yeah.
So striking that balance is really hard, but also as an artist, I make that decision as a conservationist at heart first and a storyteller. I make that conscious decision to take time out of my career, out of what pays my bills, to actually spend some time doing the meaningful stuff that then actually has ground level, makes a difference ground level. This thing that started as a film Catapults to Camera started as a film and a project, has now gone on to become an actual conservation project run by the same name.
That's phenomenal. I would love to watch it. I haven't, I must admit, and it just sounds great. I do want to, and congratulations to you. I know it's a small world, Apoorva, and just very quickly, we are running out of time though, but your take on this big juggling act, and if you've managed to crack the code.
So I thankfully have. The thing is that it's an extremely important process to understand that when you are actually building the creative blocks of what you want to, like for a film or a TV show that I usually produce. 3 years to today's data points and today's trends will not define what audience will like 3 years from now, right? There is a gestation period of 3 years to build a show and put it out there, from the script stage to the deliveries and post. So I have kind of started choosing subjects that stop you in your tracks and make you think and feel more deeply on a consistent basis. It does not really define or follow any trends specific topical pieces. It has to have a very strong layered writing process. It has to have the legs of a classic cinema, classic TV, classic content elements, so that it is relevant, and it is. And I think relevance is a very crucial filter. It stays relevant and it stays classic for viewers to see, so A Hunt for Veerappan, which followed Delhi crime, had the same investigative lens of going and figuring out a very seminal story from the perspective of decoding Veerappan psyche, and that would, in the way it was done, it was meant to tackle and bring in a wider audience. Anybody who was born in the 90s did not know Veerappan. Anybody who was born in the 80s and had heard of Veerappan in the 90s remembered him, but only as a mustachioed criminal, or a poacher, or a kidnapper of officers. But nobody really knew the whole story of Veerappan. And what we did was we found storytellers who remembered it like it happened to them day before, and got their personal accounts. And over and above that, I was very clear that I had to put some incredible graphics only in the start, no recreation, make it smart for the younger audience, and put very catchy music. So anybody who's watched Veerappan, Apoorva, the title track was specifically designed and built to attract younger audience, because they did not care about who Veerappan was. So those
Yeah.
are the ways in which I tackle, longevity and appeal, and crack the code that way.
We are running out of time, but I do, just because you mentioned technology, Dr. Jyotsna, I'm going to end with you also on that note of technology, and how you see the integration of especially AI and music. These days, songs can be written, produced, composed in a blink of an eye. How do you see that coexisting with the art itself?
Yeah, AI and machine learning does help in musical compositions, but that is also a threat, for the humans to compose music. Finally, that's always there. But the producers might go for AI because it's going to save a lot of money paying for a music producer, creativity. So that's a threat, I feel.
Okay.
AI, especially, yeah.
Okay, I would love to get the two of you and your thoughts on technology and especially AI as well. But unfortunately, we're completely out of time. I really wish we could have kept this conversation
Yes,
going.
it's a very interesting topic.
Indeed. But ladies, thank you so much. Yes, sorry,
Thank
Apoorva.
you. Thank you.
Yeah,
No, I
thank
just
you.
want to say AI didn't have childhood trauma, so it will never translate to good writing.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
Well, that's a good point, and we're going to take that up in our conversations later on
threatened.
technology. But yeah, AI has definitely not had childhood trauma or heartbreak, so I'm sure you can't make that up. But ladies, thank you so much. Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you so much.
Nice. I love that.